Sir, for joining besides your busy schedule this Saturday. And myself, Padma Casey, and I am the Associate Director of Academics at ICA. We also have with us here our Managing Director, Mr. Biswajit Mukherjee, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us, and also ICA family members who have joined us in today's session. So it is a great pleasure, sir, for me to introduce you today. He will be delivering the session on the topic of emerging trends in supply chain management. He is Dr. Venkat, currently working as an associate professor in operations and supply chain management at School of Management Studies. He is a certified ZED master trainer from the Quality Council of India and the National Monitoring and Implementation Unit for the Zero Defect and Zero Effect scheme of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise, MSME. So just to add on also, we will have a short question and answer session after the presentation gets over. So if you have any queries related to today's topic, that is emerging trends in supply chain management, you can clarify your doubts after the session gets over. And formally, I'm extremely delighted to welcome Dr. Venkat in the virtual screen. Thank you, sir, for taking time for today's session. And I leave this platform over to you now, sir. Thank you so much and welcome to the webinar, sir.
Thank you very much, madam, for such a wonderful introduction.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Right. I'm sure I'm audible, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Give me just one. I'll try to share my screen once now so that we can start the discussion on this. Right. Right, I'm just sharing the screen so that we can go ahead. Yep. Is my screen visible, madam? Right.
It's starting, so yes, now it is visible.
Right, so thank you very much for inviting me for this session on emerging trends in supply chain management, right? So I'm sure the audience must be in the same area or the entire management area, right? Okay, so the audience also must be included, the students and many of the faculty members, right, madam?
Yes, sir, yes.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. So here, what I'm going to do is that let's have a, this session is going to be like this actually. First, what I will do is that I will try to, make you understand what exactly the supply chain management, how the supply chain management is evolved. And because, after this post-COVID, there are a lot many changes actually have taken place, right? The post-COVID-19 world is set to really, completely rely upon, heavily on the technology for operations, if you look at, right? So what I'll do is that I'll try to make you to sensitize how these supply chains have become so popular and how it has become a kind of, the integral part of our, daily life, right? Look at the way how we are consuming our, daily requirements, be it, the reading the newspaper on time. Of course, we have shifted completely to the digital side, reading the newspapers on the apps, right? And then getting the milk at your doorstep, getting the newspaper at your doorstep, right? And, many things we can say, how these goods are, being delivered on time every day, right? It is just because of, managing all the entire, stakeholders the whole network, right? What we call it as the supply chain, right? Typically, the supply chain consists of the several stakeholders, right? As you know that. So stakeholders, like it starts right from the manufacturer's place, right? Manufacturers, and then the distributors, and then wholesalers, and then retailers, and then finally reaching to the end users. We are all the end users, right? So we consume several products, right? We consume several services from different service providers, isn't it? Right from the day you start and going to the bed, we use several the products and the services at our own convenience, and we enjoy all sort of the benefits, right? So here, now what this session is going to completely drive through the integration of the technological benefits, how supply chains nowadays actually being given. So that's how the post-COVID actually forced the service providers to integrate the technology as a part of its functioning, I can say it is, right? So the post-world COVID-19 is set to rely heavily on the technology for its operations, right? Look at the hospitals, look at the manufacturing companies, look at various services that we have been availing, right? Like the apps, the number of apps that you are using nowadays, right? Look at your smartphone. How many number of the applications your smartphone is consisting of? Maybe it is booking your railway tickets or flight tickets, right? Booking an appointment with your doctor, right? And like that, the several things we can see. It's all about the integration of various stakeholders, right? So that we could see the quick response, quick service, and many kind of things. I'll just take you through briefly in making you understanding what exactly the supply chain, right? And then how the supply chain is trying to benefit the organizations, and then as a whole trying to benefit the individuals, right? Look at what exactly the supply chain management, right? Before that, I just would like to take some kind of inputs from all of you. I'm sure everybody might be having some access to type a message, right? Chat box is there, no? Can you all just type what do you know about the supply chain in the chat box, please? I'm just giving 1 minute time. Yes, just write down in the chat box. I just am going to the messages. Not what do you know about the supply chain? Just type it. What do you understand by the supply chain? Can you type it in the chat box? Yes, please. Go on, go on. Madam, is the audience having the access to this chart?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, Karen. Yeah. I have received managing the logistics and flow of goods to make the process more efficient. Very good. Right? Yes, please. Yes, yes. Can I get more responses? Wonderful, wonderful. Process of moving goods and the services from source to the consumers. Wonderful. And another respondent is to supply the things from manufacturer to receive in good condition. Right? Right. Very good. Yes, supply chain means while order any raw material from any party, it will come within the chain, right? That's great. That's great. Wonderful. Right. So here, like this, we can say here, you look at a case of, a car, how, we've been, using the car, how the car is being manufactured from a manufacturer's place, right? So because from the manufacturer's place and how it is coming to the marketplace, where we could see several, the stakeholders, right? So be it the manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, and then the end user it is, right? So these are the stakeholders, right? At every stage, we could see the continuous flow of operations, right? And from left to right, we'll see the flow of operations, and the right to see, we could see the communication, among all the stakeholders of the entire supply chain, right? So here, the supply chain is all about the management of the flow of goods and services, which are known as the supply chain management, as somebody said here in this text box, right? And also the same supply chain network involves overseeing all the processes which are going to convert the raw materials into finished products. I'm sure, because if you look at the basic operations in any typical farm, always consisting of three stages, like inputs, process, and the output, right? The transformation of all the inputs through various processes as a output, what we call it as a finished good, what we call it as a typical operations, right? Now, if you add to this input, process, output, the another stakeholder called the supplier, right? And also the another stakeholder at the end is called the consumer. We call it as SIPOC, SIPOC. I'm sure you must be heard about, must be, you must have heard about this SIPOC, SIPOC, supplier, right? Inputs, process, output, and then consumers. So many of the operations people must be well aware of this, SIPOC diagram, what we can call it as, right? So this is all about the conversion of raw materials into the finished goods, right? This is also a part of the supply chain management, and typically this supply chain management requires the efficient optimization of the company's supply side activities to enhance the customer value and to achieve the competitive advantage in the marketplace. Look at how nowadays, look at the e-commerce companies are doing their business, though they do not manufacture any product, but they're good in providing the best of the service. How come it is possible for a typical company like Amazon or Flipkart or any other e-commerce firms to deliver the goods on time to the consumers? It's all about having the technology integration at each and every stage, right from sourcing, procuring, and then integrating and then delivering the same to the end users, right? There are several kind of operations we could see. This is how the most of the firms are trying to create the value to its end users. Because today I'm placing an order through an e-commerce web portal, right? So immediately I'm going to get a communication that your order is confirmed and the order is going to be delivered within so and so working days, right? How come it is possible? It is possible through the technology integration. It is possible having a good supply chain networks, right? Having a good supply chain partners. Okay, so this is how the firms are heavily relying upon the entire the supply chain, building the supply chain networks. It's all about, when we are talking about the supply chain management, majority of the organizations are focusing on the efficiency, right? And creating a value to the customers, because nowadays the most of the consumers have become nowadays the time sensitive and the price sensitive, right? So looking at all these parameters, majority of the firms are more focusing on the technology integration part, right? This is how we can try to understand the efficient optimization of the company's supply side activities, going to enhance the customer value and achieve the competitive advantage in the entire marketplace. This is how most of the firms are competing each other. Look at how Dell supply chain works so efficiently. Look at how HP company is delivering its products to its consumers. Look at the pharmaceutical supply chains. Look at the dairy supply chains. Like that, we could see and visualize many of the the networks, right? And here, I'll try to make you understand what is this supply and then supply chain. These are the basic things to understand. Supply is all about the quantity of the inventory or the goods available. for use of the actual the replenishment of a product or the component, what we can say. Because typically in the supply chain network, we are going to, in the supply chain management, we, we closely associate with the, inventory, the goods or the services, what we can say, right? And the supply chain is the supply, what we can call it, the supply is the link, which is connecting all this set of kind of the facilities and the companies, right? And the demand and the supply points and service providers who are going to involve in this, right? So this typically, the link, the chain links the suppliers and, the downstream customers with the, flows of products, services, and also the finances, whatever we call it as, right? This is how, the supply chain links all the stakeholders. And, typically the supply chain is all about the systematic and strategic coordination of all the business functions within the company for the purpose of improving the long-term performance of the supply chain as a whole, I can say, right? So this is how the supply chain, we can try to understand the supply chain and the supply chain management broadly, right? And going forward to understand what exactly this. So here, as we have seen already, as I told you already, the typical supply chain management is all about a flow of material, information, money, services. Look at this diagram. This picture talks about, many things actually. So the supplier, factory, warehouse, distribution, and all. And further, look at this, how the various stakeholders are, engaging in at different, the stages of the entire supply chain network, right? So here, yeah, look at this. Look at this here, the suppliers and then factory and then warehouse and then distributors and many things, right? Here also, the suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, tier 1 suppliers, and then manufacturer, and then distributors, and then consumers. Like this, we can try to understand the entire supply chain, the network. I'm sure, people may be following, right? What exactly the supply chain network, right? So here, going forward to understand further, the supply chain is all about the sequence of, the organizations and also the facilities and then functions and then activities which are involved in providing the delivering of various, the products or the services. Because, sometimes we also can call it as, the what we can call it as, the supply, the value chains. Because when we're talking about, the supply chain networks, we always, going to concern about the value creation, right? How majority of the organizations are trying to create value to its products or the services. It's all about through the value creation exercise. I'm sure, there is a concept in the supply chain management called, the value chain analysis, right? So the value chain analysis helps the organizations to find out it's stakeholders to find out the kind of, the primary activities and the secondary activities, how it can be integrated to create value to its products and the services. This is going to play a vital role in the entire, the supply chain network, right? And the facilities, if you look at the entire, the supply chain, what we are going to majorly focus on this is because the warehouses, right, we need to require, and then, the factories, and then processing centers, and then distribution centers, retail outlets, and then offices, right? If you look at, as I said earlier, e-commerce, just imagine the e-commerce company you're associated with or your experience in placing a kind of, the orders, right? Having the transactions on particular e-commerce portals, right? What is your experience as a, the stakeholder, right? How you felt, either you're happy or you're not happy, right? If so, if you felt very happy, what actually made you to feel happy? Is it the, Is it the, kind of, the service, the service provider, provided you, which made you happy, or is it, the kind of, the other factors which actually, making you to feel so happy or to feel so bad? Because sometimes, when you are placing an order, they promise something like within 3 days, your order is going to be delivered, but, you know, the order is going to be delivered in 2 days, where you are the most delighted customer, right? So if the order is delayed by another 2 days, instead of 3 days, your order is being delivered on, the fifth day. Yes, definitely you are not the happiest customer, because the delay in the response time, actually, right? So this is how majority of the firms are mostly focusing on the efficiency, right? This is where, the efficient consumer response, what exactly majority of the firms are trying to more focus on this to reach the consumers. That's how the technology is being integrated, right? The way they procure from various stakeholders, right? And to the warehouses, and from the warehouses, again, because imagine a kind of, the situation. The moment we place an order through online, in 2 minutes, we get everything, all in our email or, the SMS. How come it is possible, right? Because the moment you place an order, the other side, they are going to check this, availability of the inventory in, the respective, processing centers, and they try to integrate that, and then they, completely generate a kind of, the information, or, the information sheet, what we can call it as, and then immediately respond to the consumers, and then they will, confirm the order, and then the lead time also they confirm. Because in supply chain, what we call it as the metrics, I can say it is, right? The lead time and the processing time, right? And then, because always wanted to see more happiest, the customers. The happy customers always going to create more number of, the new customers, right? This is a basic, philosophy, right? That's how, the supply chains are becoming more and more popular nowadays. Actually, COVID has given, a lot of, the opportunities, right? And also it has thrown a lot many kind of, the challenges, I can say, because up to, pre-COVID, we do not know much about this logistics and the supply chain, right? So post-COVID, during the COVID time, people have realized the importance of, the products. Now, especially the products which we are looking at not at all available, especially, right? Especially in the beginning of, the COVID, there is a, acute shortage of, the sanitizers, right? And then masks, and then many kind of, the goods, actually, right? Apart from this, even our daily consumables also have become so in demanding, actually, shortage of it. Like this, we all have become, and we all have realized the importance of, the flow of goods from source to the destination. It is how challenging it is, right? So in the entire supply chain, creating the facilities has become so important. It has become an integral part of the supply chain planning exercise. So in this case, building the warehouses more important, and building the, having a good number of factories, and then processing centers, and then distribution centers, and then retail outlets, and then, requisite office spaces has become so important to see the seamless operations and to deliver the products from one source to the next destination it is, right? This is how, the majority of the firms are mostly relying upon this, creating the infrastructure facilities, and then functions and the activities of this entire supply chain is because it's all about the forecasting, and it's all about the purchasing. Because forecasting, in the sense, as a supply chain manager, you should be in a position to, forecast what going to be the next, the 1 month, the demand for the products, right? Accordingly, you are going to procure the inventory, right? You are going to purchase the inventory, you are going to keep everything in the warehouses, because See, it's all about the supply, demand, even capacity also one of the most important, the aspect, because majority of the nowadays, most of the e-commerce firms are, creating a very big size, the facility centers, right? They are investing a lot, especially in India. I can say, Amazon has, developed very big spaces to, keep their, inventory and then to respond so quickly to its, consumers, right? And then information management and then quality assurance and then scheduling and then production and delivery. And like this, we could see, many of the kind of, the activities as a part of, the supply chain networks, right? And moving customer service, ultimately, one of the major, aspect here, one should, remember. And then the typical supply chain, if we look at, this is a typical supply chain. This is how we understand, right? Like purchasing and then receiving and then storage. These are the kind of the symbols normally we use it in a typical operations. Because remember that, please. This session may be closely associated with a course like operations management, production or operations management, or a typical supply chain management, because people having a knowledge in this area may benefit from this the session, right? And also they may also, people who do not know all about the supply chain network may also realize what is a supply chain, right? How we can understand in our daily life also supply chain networks, right? Because every day we consume the goods, but without the network, can you imagine if your distributor is not going to distribute in that region? If he is going to stop the things, are you going to get the goods? No, right? And if the particular manufacturing facility is going to stop the production, definitely there is a shortage of the goods, right? That's how majority of the farms, they are trying to create more and more storage facilities, create for storage of the inventory, and then expecting that this is how the demand forecasting comes into a place actually in the supply chain network, right? So that's why there's a great demand to the supply chain professionals, especially in the supply chain profession. What happens? There are different type of the portfolios, we can say it is, right? People who are good at inventory side, they have good opportunities in the inventory management side, right? And then forecasting side, they have warehousing side, good number of the core jobs, I can say it is, especially in the supply chain management area. Retail supply chains become so in the retail sector, we could say the retail supply chains and all, right? This is a supply chain. This is a manufacturer's supply chain, how it looks like. Supplier, storage, manufacturing companies, right? And then storage in the sense, it's a place where they store all the inventory, goods in that at one particular place. Let us say a manufacturing company is manufacturing the products from one place. Do you think that from the same place it is going to deliver? No, it is going to have its own distribution centers across the country, right? So they are going to identify, depending on various the logistical factors, and then identify, and accordingly they are going to reach the customers in that particular regions. Okay. And this is a typical supply chain network for a service sector. Even service supply chains also become so popular, right? Like the hospitals, how hospitals are doing, and providing excellent service. How we look at the how pharmaceutical supply chains, how that working on this, right? We can see it here. Suppliers and then storage and then service and the customers. Look at your experience when you have visited a hospital, right? And then what is your experience? All this, right? Just 1 second, please. Sorry. So this is how we can try to understand a typical supply chain for a service sector, right? This is a generic supply chain. What we see. Look at this: the vendors and then manufacturing companies, right? and how, this, 1 second. Yeah. See here, they're the vendors, we can say, and here it's the manufacturing companies, right? And then distribution centers. Here the retailers. See here the happiest customers who are there here, right? So here, this is a typical generic supply chain, how we can, look at how simply it is the suppliers and the manufacturers and the distributors and the wholesalers and the retailers and the supply chain. This is how, we can visualize the entire network when we talk about, right? Now, going forward here, how these generic supply chains, slowly have become, so popular, and what actually, we could see the trends in the entire, the new trends in this, the typical generic supply chain. This is what, today's topic, what we are going to discuss actually, right? So before going to, switch into this emerging top, trends in the supply chain. Look at this. This is a typical, the Dell supply chain network, how it is. Look at this here. Dell supply chain, what it talks about is directly, from the company to the customers. That's it. No mediators are going to be there. But in this case, there are several mediators. We call all the stakeholders as the mediators because kind of things nowadays, because of the technology, most of the companies are, eliminating various, the partners into the chain, and then they're trying to directly reach with the customers actually, right? So this is how, we can try to understand the Dell supply chain and why there's a need for the supply chain. First of all, every organization is trying to, right? So it is because to improve the operations, and it is because of, increasing the level of, levels of, the outsourcing, and also it is because increasing the transportation cost is one of the reason, and the competitive pressures also, because to sustain in the marketplace, yes, you need to have, the required infrastructure, and to be, a market leader, right? And then increasing globalization also one of the major factor, because we are all living in a knowledge society, right? So as we are all living in a knowledge society, and due to the drastic changes in the developments in the technology, we all, world has become a small village, right? Nowhere, whether you are in, New Delhi, or either you are in Kathmandu or anywhere else, we are all connected actually, right? So it's just a matter of, the fraction of seconds we can exchange the information, it is, isn't it? So this is how, the supply chains have become, more, integrated, what we call it as an integrated supply chain, supply chains, and then increasing the importance of the e-commerce and the complexity of the supply chains, right? So, and managing the inventories, how firms are trying to manage the inventory is one most challenging, the task, especially in the supply chain management area, because look at big, having a big size, warehouses, and then, a huge demands one side, and then other side, the supply side problems and then demand side problems, always going to create some kind of, the complexities in the entire network. But the challenge to majority of the supply chain professionals is always to see the continuous flow of goods from source to the destination, right? Because we are always happy that to get the products on time. But do you know the things that, what are the challenges the other side being, faced to deliver your goods on time? This is where the challenges comes into picture. This is where the logistics professionals actually going to struggle a lot to give their best to deliver the goods on time every time, right? And what SCM does always, because supply chain always going to more focus on, three, it manages its three flows. One is the inventory, how it flows, and then information flows, and the cash flows, right? Because this is one of the major important aspect in the supply chain management practices, right? And also it focuses on 4 cycles: procurement cycle, manufacturing cycle, and then replenishment cycle, and then order fulfillment cycle, right? Imagine here, here I'm not going to teach you the inventory management if you are good at inventory, right? In inventory concept, what happens? The moment the requisite the quantity of inventory comes to a stage where it is going to fully exhaust, then the operations people are going to more focus on the lead times, right? Because the other side, the service providers, how much lead time they are going to take, right? It's always highly depending on the lead time, right? Accordingly, they're going to place order, and the cycle continues, right? So here, that's how the inventory management plays a vital role in the entire the network of the supply chains, right? So here I'll try to here, if you look at things here, and I will draw one. Sorry, here it's not coming. Look at this. I'm sure you are able to see the diagram what I'm drawing here, right? Right. So let us say this is one. This is the reorder point, and let us say a typical operations fellow always concerned about placing an order. The moment your order is reaching to this place, you are going to place an order, right? Because this is all about the lead time that you are going to have this place, right? The moment because let us say it is taking 5 days time, and you have a safety here the moment you are going to consume this here, and you are going to place an order, and then accordingly the order is going to be placed and then consumed, and then the cycle continues, and then like this, right? This is how the inventory cycles are going to be seen in the entire order replenishment, and then order fulfillment cycles are going to be seen in the entire supply chain networks. Okay, so this is how the 4 cycles are going to play a vital role. 3 flows: inventory flows, information flows, cash flows, and then 4 cycles: procurement cycles, manufacturing cycles, replenishment cycle, and then order fulfillment cycles, which are going to which aligns with the capabilities of the suppliers as well as the service providers, because this is where the infrastructure issues comes into picture here. This is where the technology comes into picture, it is, right? Because this is how the more you are connected with these technology, the quicker the solutions you provide, right? So this is how the quick response logistics, the services we could see in the marketplace, right? Quick response time, I can say it is. That's how efficient consumer response, and then quick response logistics becoming so popular and then demanding nowadays, right? This is how the supply chain management is going to manage the entire supply side operations, and the other side is the demand side operations, and seeing the continuous flow of goods from one source to the next, the destination it is always, right? So to make the consumers more happy and happier, right? So now, going forward here, there are the benefits of the technology in the supply chain. Look at this here, how technology in the supply chain we could see here. So it is going to bridge the gaps amongst all the stakeholders, and also will try to see the optimized operations, increased visibility, improved decision making, because every supply chain manager is going to have their own dashboards actually. So looking at the dashboard, we can say easily that where exactly because now I can say even a truck driver also can be treated as a logistics of person actually, right? Because he knows how where to take that vehicle, right, from the source to the destination, right? How much time it is taking, right? And the lead time, what we call it as, especially in the operations, in this entire supply chain network, we are going to talk about the lead time, right? And then inventory, we are going to talk about the efficiency, and then many kind of the metrics of the supply chain we could see here, right? So it also builds the better customer relationships, and then added competitive advantage, and many kind of the benefits we could see through this the technology integration in the supply chain, right? And these are the elements typically what we could see in the supply chain management. What are the elements? Like the customers forecasting, design, processing, inventory, and purchasing, suppliers, location, logistics. These are all the part of a typical supply chain network, what we can say, right? And further, the logistics, as I told you in the beginning, logistics, nowadays in the combination of the term like logistics and the supply chain management, what we also can say is, right? Logistics refers to the movement of materials and also the information within a facility, and to incoming and the outgoing shipments of goods and the materials in the supply chain, right? Because look at how imports and then exports are taking place, right? How majority of the firms are trying to ship its goods to from one place to another place. Is it the look at the mode of transportation? Is it the roadways? Is it the railways? Is it the airways? Is it the waterways? Right, like this. Look at a country like India, how India is supplying goods to the entire world, and how it is trying to meet various countries the demand requirements. And in the same way, India also getting the help from the several countries, especially in terms of the getting the goods from several countries, importing and then exporting and many kind of things. This is where the logistics component comes to picture. And then this allow about the logistics, how movement within the facility center, and many kind of things we could see. In the logistics, we are going to deeply concern about the barcoding and then EDI. Nowadays, if you look at any of the goods that we purchase, on that on the back of that particular product, we will see a labeling with a barcode, right? So what does it mean? This talks about identification of the product from where it came, right? Easily it is going to trace the product. Traceability of a product in a typical supply chain we could see, right? Many JIT deliveries, just-in-time deliveries, and many kind of things. This is a typical materials movement in any kind of the storage facility centers or a warehouse for that case, right? Look at how the trucks are being parked here to load and then move from one work center to another work center to see the continuous flow of the goods, right? And further to understand, going forward to see the emerging trends, the distribution requirements planning. Especially this DRP, what we call it as, especially in the operations management, there is a concept called MRP, materials requirement planning. So in this DRP is a system which is for inventory management and the distribution planning. Here, all the goods are going to be integrated, and then just at a click away we can identify where is this product is available, because this is how nowadays majority of the manufacturing firms are having its own requirements planning information systems, right? Because they are going to easily trace and track and then assemble it, right? Nowadays, make a majority of the manufacturing, typical automobile companies, what do? They are even deploying the robots into their the assembly line, right? How the robots are going to pick up all these things? It is just because integrating these DRPs into the process, the machine, because robo is a kind of the machine which is going to always pick up the components where it is, and then accordingly it is going to assemble, and then it is going to move to the one place to the another place, and then finally we are going to get a final good, right? This is how the distribution requirements plans are going to. It's an extended version of the MRP2, as I said. And the uses of this DRP is always going to help and coordinate with the transportation, warehousing, workers, equipment, financial flows, many things. Otherwise, it's highly difficult to see how efficient it is to reach the people and to make the ultimately here most of the firms are trying to focus on understanding the end users so keenly to provide them the best of the kind of the services. Otherwise there is no, first of all, there is no business, right? So to see the more business and to see the more business and the other side consumers should be very happy. Otherwise there is no sales, there are no profits, and then definitely there is a problem we could see in the marketplace, right? So EDI is a concept again in this supply chain, right? So it is all about the direct transmission of the inter-organization transactions, like it's an electronic data interchange, right? Where it is going to see the computer to computer and then many kind of things, right? And going forward, okay, I'm just going further. The efficient consumer response. Efficient consumer response in the supply chain network is all about managing all about the kind of demand, the kind of the requirements what exactly the consumers are expecting in the marketplace, because it directly reflects the company's efforts to achieve the quick response using the EDI and also the barcodes, right? See here today we are making we are just calling a customer care number. Nowadays majority of the firms trying to avoid taking the calls through the customer care numbers. They're trying to always encouraging the customers to send a message or to write the email so that you are going to get more quick response than over talking over a phone with a customer care number. It is right. So that's how we could see here. And the e-commerce is the use of electronic technology to facilitate the transactions, right? And mainly we can see here CPFR is another beautiful tool in the supply chain management. What we call it as collaborative planning, forecasting, and the replenishment. CPFR is a forecasting tool here, which focuses mostly on the information sharing among all the trading partners, right? Based on this, let us say, I'm sure you may be having some kind of experience on the point of sales information. I'll give you a simple example to make you understand. You're a customer, you have visited a big shopping mall, right? And then you have, let's say you went to a grocery, a shopping mall where you try to purchase all the items. Assume that you have purchased some 40 to 50 items, right? And then you went to the billing counter, right? At the time of billing counter, the processing executive is going to ask you, your mobile number or any other identification number, right? Why they're going to ask? Because your data, the 50 items what you purchased from the store is going to be stored on your, with your mobile number. The next time, whenever you go to that shop, right? They are going to, ask you again the number, and then that's how, your history is going to be known, right? The data which they are going to capture from the customers, what we call it as the find of sales information. This POS data, what we call it as POS data, is going to help the organizations, right, to understand the consumers more better, and accordingly they're trying to devise more and more these services in the best possible manner, so that they try to one way they try to understand the customers what we call it as in the marketing, there is a concept called customer basket analysis, right? Because this month, let us say in March I have purchased cents of goods, and April I have purchased cents of goods, and in May I have purchased some cents of goods, right? They are going to forecast in the next forthcoming, the next quarter, how the inventory is going to move, and how the inventory can be planned. This POS data is being integrated with the entire supply chain partners. Like as I said, suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers, right? It's all happening at the retailer's place, right? and the retailers maintaining this POS data, and then retailers are, sharing this data quickly, immediately to all its, the stakeholders, right? And then accordingly, the data is being shared, and then quick response, what we call it as, and then everyone is going to see that there should not be any kind of, deficiency. There should not be any kind of, the problem in, maintaining the inventory in the stores, right? So that's how, we could understand. And this is all about, the emerging trends in the entire supply chain management, because this is taken from one of the research paper in the supply chain management, because these are the trends nowadays, what's happening, because supply chain digitization is one of the major, thing after, post-COVID, we can say, right? Because digitalization is all about connecting all the stakeholders, right? Not only from one place, across the globe, I can say. Sitting here at one place, we are doing several activities. We connected each other. We check the inventory status. We accordingly, firms are moving forward to get connect each other to see and to reach the consumers always on time, right? And another one is the cloud first operations, because I'm sure you may be aware of the cloud computing technologies. That's how firms are, moving towards to adopt this cloud first, operations. And then omni-channel supply chains also have become the norm nowadays, because we can also place an order through online. We also can place an order through, going to the shop also, it is, right? So always we are as a consumer, as an end user, always, more focusing on, convenience part actually, right? Nowadays, without going to anywhere, looking it in my flat, I can place an order through Big Basket, right? All my vegetables reach my, home, right? And without, going anywhere, I'll place, again, another kind of set of, the things which I'm looking for. I want to have a kind of laptop or any other kind of electronic items through e-commerce portal, Amazon. I place an order like that without moving anywhere. Even I'm sure you may be agree with me, right? I'm sure you must have forgotten in visiting your banks. Only on the day, when you opened your account, I think you must have visited the bank. After that, how many number of times you have visited your bank? Hardly, less than, I'm sure it may be a single digit. I'm sure it is, right? So this is how, the technology actually has become an integral part in our daily lives, right? So these kind of things are, emerging areas in the entire supply chain network. And then sustainability is one of the most important aspect. Sustainability to take the center stage, because nowadays, if you look at how majority of the companies are more focusing on the sustainability and then circular economy, right? So circular economy, growth in the circular, supply chains also has become one of the major, important aspect in majority of the organization, because resources, because what happens if you, regularly, use all the resources are depleting day by day, right? So to save the resources, right? The sustainability, becoming the, center stage. And accordingly, majority of the firms are more focusing on this, triple bottom line, right? So, and then, they're trying to more, aware of, developing these circular supply chains. And then, accordingly, they're moving forward, right? And then rise of, agile supply chain. Agility is one of the important aspect which the companies are trying to more focus on. Agility in the sense, quick response. Quick, the moment you just, send your kind of query, I'm sure the query is going to be addressed. Suppose, for example, if you look at your experience with a, let's say if you are, using a credit card, right, of American Express, for example, if you just try to put a message, right, then immediately you're going to get a, response from that particular service provider, and the issue is going to be resolved within let us say some, 2 minutes time or 3 minutes time. This is how I'll give you another experience. For example, Big Basket is there. I'm sure you may be knowing Big Basket. Big Basket is a, one of the major, retail chain here in India, especially in majority of the places, right? So what happens? Big Basket now is a concept where you can place an order, on the, through the web or through the app. There is a challenge from the company that if your goods are not being delivered within 30 minutes, they're going to give you 5% discount on the next transaction. And if you, look at the way they're going to deliver, I'm sure the order is going to be delivered just within less than 10 minutes. This is the challenge. This is how the companies are working. In India, Big Basket, Blinkit is going to, you're going to, get this quick response, right? So imagine to deliver this kind of things. Imagine how those service providers are trying to manage their inventory from that side, logistics base, right? So how they're trying to reach the consumers, how many number of, the delivery boys they must have, the deployed into their system, right? And then see here, these are the kind of, the challenges. This is how, the firms are trying to build the agility, into their system, so that the quick response and as a at the end we could see the efficient consumer response, right? This is all about, the because of, why it is all happening. It is because of the time-based competition, right? It is because of the time-based competition, right? So firms have more focusing on because it's all, to attain the competitive advantage, to create a value, right? Due to the drastic, developments in the technology, and, companies have been forced to adopt the agility into the systems, right? This is how, we could see the emerging, 6 emerging trends in the supply chain management. And these are the 10 trends shaping the future of the whole supply chain management, right? One is, adapting the artificial intelligence and the automation, right? And then increased focus on the sustainability, customization, highly customized products we are getting nowadays in the marketplace. Earlier, it was not the scenario, right? And then Internet of Things, IoT technologies, digitization, and then strengthened relationships, right? And then risk management, and then resiliency, and then increased visibility, many kind of things, circular supply chains, cloud-based, many things. These are the, the trends which we could see the entire supply chain management, how it is happening. I'm sure you must have seen how a traditional supply chain, right, is being transformed into the new way of providing the solutions with the, integration of the technology, right? So now next is the, stage where we could see the, because you must have heard, the blockchain technology, right? You must have heard about this Internet of Things. You must have heard about, the Industry 4.0 applications completely, right? It's all about adopting the new technologies into the organizations, right? So which makes the, organizations happy, and also which makes the, consumers more happy and more comfortable, right? This is how the entire supply chain management is making the people become so happy. And then how this is how, we are all enjoying the benefit of technology with the increased connectivity, and then, continuous flow of operations, right? So this is how we could see the trends in the entire supply chain network. So with this, I conclude the session, madam. So if you have any questions, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. We have any questions? Kindly raise your questions. Put forward your questions if you have any, dear learners. Hello. Hello.
There is no questions, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Madanji, you have any questions?
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
Good
I think
afternoon.
all were clear how the technology and how the consumer demands are creating our supply chain these days, and how the future is going to likely to be. It was all clear. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it seemed like in the chat box also we can see that no questions. I think they are very much clear, sir, on the topic that is supply chain management, which is regular use. As a customer, as a manufacturer, we have been dealing with this system in our regular daily life as well.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative and knowledge-gaining presentation. And I hope this session, from this session, there were many takeaways for our learners. And do you have anything to say, sir?
Yeah.
This topic.
Sorry, regarding?
You have anything to say, sir? Anything to say?
Yeah, see here, core operations actually. So
yes,
this is how I have selected. When you have asked me to select the topic, then
yes,
I selected in this operations area because I am broadly working in the area of operations, logistics, project management, supply chain, and then technology and many kind of things. In future, if you require any kind of such kind of sessions, you can reach me. I am more than happy to address all your learners' no issues. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And the topic was very much relevant to our target group, sir, who are management learners. And finally, I request our learners to kindly mark your attendance in the link that has been provided in the chat box. And also, I request our managing director, who is the center coordinator of ICA, to give his closing remarks for this session. Biswajit, sir, I leave over to you, sir.
Thank you, Padmanam, and good afternoon, sir. It was a wonderful session, and I'm sure that our learners might have they taken a lot of information from this. There are a lot of takeaways for our learners. As they are learners, they are professionals as well. So it will be very much useful for them in their academics as well as in their professional career. So I would like to thank you so much, sir, for taking out your valuable time in this off day and interacting with our learners. We look forward for more such sessions from you as well as from other professors of the School of Management. And I would also like to thank our learners for attending this session. And we'll keep in mind that we conduct such sessions on a regular basis in near future as well. So saying this once again, sir, thank you very much for your presence and for a wonderful session. And I would like to thank our team, Padma ma'am and our team for organizing this session. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Venkat, sir. I'll be in touch with you, sir.